But do you see it as a positive when there's that tie between the two, the secular world and the Christian world, or is it something you would see as maybe more unsettling?
I don't think it's unsettling at all. And really, that tradition goes back to the Apostle Paul, who, when he gave a speech in Athens, like the heart of pagan religion, he actually cited two ancient pagan hymns that originally were to Zeus. So you just pick up Acts 17 and read it, and he says, in him we live and move and have our being. Well, that's straight out of a Stoic philosopher called Cleanthes. And then he says, as some of your own poets say, we are his offspring, God's offspring. Well, that's straight out of a poet called Aratus from a poem that was worshipping Zeus. So, right from the beginning, the Apostle Paul himself used pagan ideas to actually present the truth. But that's the key. It isn't compromising. It shouldn't unsettle us in the sense that he's, changing the Christian faith. No, he's saying, look, you've stumbled across a truth that you don't quite understand. And I think that's what our songwriter is doing, using pagan motifs, but to actually say, look, there's a little truth in what you're saying, but it's fulfilled in what we're saying. The last line is the best because the last line says, to the only giver of all good gifts. Well, Zeus was called giver of good gifts. But this songwriter is saying the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is the only giver of all good gifts. So it's like borrowing a pagan idea, but then adjusting it in a massive way. And that looks exactly like what the Apostle Paul did in his speech in Athens.
Why did you pick those particular songwriters to rewrite it for now?
Look, the original melody, the original Greek melody is in the style of popular music of ancient Greece. It's not in the style of monastery music that we think of centuries later. So it was vital that I go not to classical musicians, but to brilliant musicians who had a real pop sensibility, who knew how to write a tune that would just get in your ear. You couldn't get it out.